would, turn in your Bibles, Psalm 127. Psalm 127. We're going to study the whole book this time, the whole chapter. Psalm 127, verses 1 through 5. Notice these words. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so he gives his beloved sleep. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. Happy is the man who has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate. And I'm talking today simply from the subject, making a house a home. Making a house a home. There is a tremendous difference between a house and a home. People in the construction industry build houses, but people in the relationship business build homes. Houses are made with brick and mortar and sheetrock and plaster, cement and all kinds of things, wood. But homes are made with love and grace and mercy and encouragement. When the Bible here says, except the Lord build the house is taken in three different senses in the sacred writings. One understanding of the house is to build the temple of the Lord. It refers to the house of the Lord. It's about building the house of the Lord. And the second one is about building an ordinary house, a dwelling place, just a residential abode. The third is about having numerous offspring. This third one, when he talks about a house, this one actually is the word family. It is made up of the building blocks of sons and daughters. And that's why years ago people had a whole lot of children, particularly when we were more of an agricultural community. You had to have a lot of children to raise the help on the farm. And the only reason that the children got out of school in June, July, and August was not so they could have a summer vacation, but so they could help their parents harvest the crops. It was harvest time. They weren't just trying to let them out of school. They needed their help on the farm. And so you had a whole lot of children. It was not uncommon for families to have 9 children, a dozen children. I met an old country boy, he was one of 22. I'm like, didn't your parents have a television? But he says, except the Lord build a house, except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain who build it. Our houses are in derision today. It's interesting that even the midwives back during the time of Moses, the Pharaoh had given the order for the midwives to kill all of the male children as they were being born. But the Hebrew midwives feared God too much, and they refused to kill those babies. It was almost like legalized abortion. May I give you a side note here to let you know that not everything that is legal is right? There's a difference between, being right and being legal, and I don't want you to think that you can get to the judgment throne of God and say, God, but it was legal in my state. God's not going to ask you about legality because he doesn't operate through our court systems of perverted mankind. The question is it right? The Bible doesn't say none but the legal shall see God. It's none but the The righteous. Oh, I'm so glad I got some Bible readers in the house. Don't get it twisted that not everything that is legal is righteous. We can legalize whatever we want to legalize. Since when has the majority been right? We used to have what we call a moral majority. It seems like we've got an immoral majority nowadays. But I'm not running for political office, just exhale. But it's interesting that these Hebrew midwives, the reason that I'm bringing them up is because they are connected to a house. Because they feared the Lord. The same word that is translated house in Exodus chapter 1 is also translated house here in Psalm 127. And the Bible gave a promise to these Hebrew women who refused to do abortions, legal abortions, at the command of Pharaoh. God gave them a promise in Exodus chapter 1 and verse 21. He said, because they feared the Lord, therefore he built them houses. God built them houses. Now, when the word houses there, that God built them houses, they were not brick and mortar. God built them families. God says, listen, that because you didn't murder these children, I'm going to give you a strong heritage. I'm going to give you a strong inheritance of children in your family. Because you've honored me, I will build you houses. Maybe you'll understand the word better if I use the word households. A household. But he was saying, I'm going to build you strong families, sons and daughters. I'm going to build strong sons and daughters. Sons and daughters are the building blocks of a strong family. And listen, this is not an indictment against those that don't have any children, because the mother of a desolate, she has more children than those that are able to give birth. And there are so many wayward children that we need those who've not had children of their own to take responsibility. Are you listening? There are some sons and daughters, and whether you realize it or not, you can feel a closer kinship to somebody that you didn't even birth than somebody that you gave birth to. And God can connect you as a spiritual mother and a spiritual father to somebody and that you didn't even give birth to. So there's room for God to be able to create strong families. And so if God's blessings are not on our children, the house, how in the world can the house really be built up? But instead of it being the house of God, if God doesn't do it, it becomes a synagogue of Satan. It's interesting. You ever notice the Bible, Psalm chapter 11, verse 3, that if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Everything is built on a foundation. And if you want anything to last, you've got to build it right. It's got to be done right. Do you know something is eroded today in our foundations? It's a terrible thing to get a house and then you realize the foundation is faulty. You can move into some house and the foundation to be sinking. I'm amazed at the lack of character in the craftsmanship of some people and some of the work that they do that is shoddy, and they just want to get it propped up so they can get it sold. And then you have to discover somebody's incompetence. But we've got a problem not only with natural foundations, we've got a problem with the emotional foundation and the spiritual foundation of homes today. And we've got a lot of houses, just a place where people just retire just to be able to change clothes, take a nap, and then back out in the streets again. That's not a home. But if the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? It's saying that even if you're a righteous person and if the foundations are jacked up, your hands are tied. It means you got to go back and fix the foundation. Even if you're a righteous person and if the foundation of your diet is not right, you're going to have some issues in your physical body. If the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? Do you know it is estimated that couples argue over 3,000 times per year? I know now that makes you feel normal. Isn't that interesting? Couples argue over 3,000 times per year. All of the married people just keep looking straight. Do you realize that divorce rates now exceed the rate of successful marriages? Sounds like a foundational problem to me. But to make a house a home, you got to have a strong foundation on which to build. And you can even determine how great something is going to be built by just inspecting the foundation. Home ought to be a safe place where you can say stuff without being judged, where you can say whatever. You know that there's got to be some place where when you get there you realize this thing is all right with me now. Have you ever realized that if God really wants to do something in your life, that he has to bring you to a place where home is the order of the day? May I just tell you that when you get into your promised land, you're at home. When you get into your place of destiny, you're at home. You know how I can tell when I'm in my place of destiny? Because I'm comfortable. Do I look like I'm nervous right now? I'm at home. I am at home. Have you ever noticed that one of the first things that we do when we get in the place where God is, that God will tell you, like he told Moses, Moses, take off your shoes. What's the first thing you do when you get home? You take off your shoes. When you take off those shoes, well, those dogs have been barking all day. It is your sign, I'm home now. I'm home. Some of y'all take them off in the car. I know it. I know you. Oh, I know you. But when you get home, you take those shoes off. It's a way of saying, I'm home now. I'm home now. God told Moses, take off your shoes, for the place where you're standing is holy ground. And when you get home and take off your shoes, it ought to be holy ground. Not just a house. You can go in any house, in and out of houses. But when you're in a home, you take off your shoes, that man-made stuff. The stuff that puts something between me and you. Take it off so we can be real with each other in the home. Does that make any sense to you? Home is a place where you can be real with God. You don't put on any facades. You just, this is me, God. You know my struggles. You know my good points, my bad points. Love me or leave me, God. Just, this is who I am. You know I got a problem with my tongue. God, this is me. You know me. You know me. Anybody ever felt like, God, you know me? I mean, you can't fool him anyway. You may as well be real. So when you're in that place, in this house that we make a home, we are real. We make mistakes. It's just, it goes with the territory. You're going to make mistakes. Deal with it. It's life. We make mistakes. Who hasn't made a mistake? We say, I'm sorry. That's what you do after you've made a mistake. You admit it. You admit it. Apologize about it and move on. We give second chances. You make a mistake, what? It's supposed to be over because you made a mistake? No. We give second chances. We have fun. Don't get so saved that you can't have fun. You need to be able to laugh. You need to be able to love. You need to be able to have a great time. Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Don't be a bump on a log, a stick in the mud. You ought to be the life of the party. We have fun. We have fun. We have fun. We give hugs. You lower your blood pressure. You will reduce stress in your life when you hug somebody. You don't ever know who around you needs a hug. And the therapy that comes just from a hug. When somebody dies in the family, you just hug them. It's not that your words say anything, it's your presence and what you communicate in that hug, that touch. We give hugs. We forgive. When you're in a home, you forgive. You're dealing with human beings. If you're dealing with human beings, they're going to offend you at times. No matter how many times you've told them, listen, I don't like that, you're going to get offended. And so you have to forgive, to let offense get out of your life. And we do really loud. We do really loud. Everybody has somebody in the family that's just loud. It's like, I'm right here. Have you ever said to let people, shh, shh. It's like, where did you learn to whisper? On a helicopter? But we are family. We are family. We're family in a home. That's where home is. It's where the family, where the heart is. And in that home, we love. We love. We love. You know, there's great value in having God's divine blessing on your life and your family. Incredible divine value. Because we desperately need God's blessings for raising a family. You need God's blessings to raise a family, particularly in this day and time. We need God's blessings to raise a family. If your children go to school, public or private, the same crazy children in the public schools go to private schools because they are victims of the culture. It's not whether the school is public or private, they are victims of the culture. So you need God's blessings for raising a family. If God is not acknowledged, we have no reason to expect his blessings. And our best laid plans fail unless God himself crowns them with success. We desperately need God's blessings, not only for raising a family, but also for the safety of the family or the city. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman. Though they neither slumber nor sleep, they wake but in vain. And mischief could break out and anything could happen. You have to have God. I'm just telling you, do you realize that even celebrities have folks to break into their homes? Folks break in police officers' homes. I mean, where is the safe place? It doesn't matter what kind of alarm system you have and how high a fence or wall is. Somebody knows how to get over it and get through it and get in. You need the blessings of God. I'm just here to tell you. And then you also need the blessings of God for the enriching of a family. For the enriching of a family. And let me just say this to you. Don't try to play God by attempting to do his job or to do your job without his help. Well, what you going to do? Just tell God, chill out, God. I got this. You're going to just tell him to back off and, I got this. No. I know you know how to do your work. You could be working and get your finger jammed in something. You do need the Lord. You really do need him. I know you think that you can do this. You've been doing it. And Lord, I can do this. God has been saying, you have been aware of the fact that I've been watching over you. I've been having your back. You don't know how many times you've come close to danger, and I kept this from happening and that from happening and the other thing from happening. I could have let you get found out. Not only would you have been fired, you probably would have been incarcerated. The last people that tried to build something that would elevate them to God's level, we call it the Tower of Babel, they had their language confused. It's interesting when you try to lift something up and do something in a different way than what God said to do it. God had no problem with his people getting to him. He had a plan for people getting to him and talking to him, but don't do it man's way. Do it God's way. Except the Lord build the house. They labor in vain who build it. They labor in vain. See, too many people bought the hype and they based their life off of the words of the song that Frank Sinatra made popular. I did it my way. I want you to look at the words. I provided them for you. He said, I did it my way. He said, and now the end is here. And so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway. And more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew, but through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed, I've cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now as tears subside, I find it all so amusing. To think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what a man, what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not. To say the things he truly feels and not the words of one who kneels, the record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way. It's interesting. The song that we ought to sing at the end of our life ought to sound a little more like 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 7. I have fought a good fight. I have finished the race and I have kept the faith. And then top it off, I did it God's way. I did it God's way. I did it God's way. How dare we live our lives according to the dictates of our own flesh and the aggrandizement of our own flesh, living in such a contumacious and iconoclastic way against God, shaking our fist, as it were, in his face, saying, God, I don't have to do it your way. What unmitigated gall it is to stand in defiance against the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and simply saying, you know, God, you know, I know what you said, but I did it my way. I mean, no offense. You know, your way was nice and everything, but I did it my way. I did it my way. God always gives us a choice. You know, you obey or you disobey. And I'm just here to say that America had better be careful, or else in our attempt to redefine things that God has established and built, we'll find ourselves building our own Tower of Babel in pride and find our language confused and not even be able to communicate with one another, and such division will come. Oh my God, I'm just telling you, the results become chaotic in society when we try to do something our own way and not do it God's way. And if we intend to do things God's way, we must ensure that we are entirely dependent on God. No matter what our skill or our strength or our industry may be, it would all be in vain unless God shall assist us. And whether you realize it or not, we are totally dependent on God for life. You can't get life. Man has not figured out how to manufacture life. We have to always take life that God has given somewhere, energy that he's placed in the earth. But we are dependent on God for life. We're dependent on him for health. We're dependent on him for strength. We're dependent upon him for practical wisdom. We are dependent on him for diligence to continue our work. We're dependent on God for our success. We are dependent on God for protection, that the work will not be destroyed by the destroyer.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.